Hello, welcome on Travels and Code channel. Today we will continue learning React and we will take a look on type checking with prop types in React. So, if React is interesting for you, subscribe to my channel. Your subscriptions and likes are very important to support this channel and it will help to provide more and more useful content, especially for you. So, what is type checking? Why do we need it? It's a very important feature because of when your application grows, you will have a lot of bugs with type checking. It means that you will have some props and each props has some type, but sometimes you can miss or do not know what you need to pass as a props and you will get some errors. For some application, you can use JavaScript extensions like Flow or TypeScript for type checking. This extension can help you and solve a lot of problems. But what can you do for React? React has some built-in type checking abilities. These abilities are prop types. Let's take a look how to use them. As example, we will use our latest application. We created its custom password input and let's take a look on this code and try to extend it and do it more readable and check types. So you can find the lesson how we created this component in the description. The link will be in description and in a pop-up. So let's start from the index. What do we have? We have application. Application just returns password, and in password we have one function and one component. Component is a password input, and this component has two props. It's type, it might be text or password, and we have a function, and that's it. So let's go to this password and clarify. We will provide our props. To do it, we need, first of all, we need this library. We need to install this library, prop types. Let's do it. Okay, while it's installing, let's take a look what do we have. Let's take a look on props and the different validation options it provides. We have array, we have boolean, function, number, object, string. We have a node and elements. We can validate element type. We can validate one of. It means we will have type text or password. We will use it for our component. We have one of type. We have arrays, we have object, shape. What's important? We have a lot of different options. Another very useful option is required. It means if some field is required for your field, you can mark it as is required, and in case you miss this field, you will get error in the console output. And what I want to mention additionally, we have default props. It's an important part. In case some field is not required, you can miss it, but you can define some default value. Your company will use it. I will show you in this application. So our prop types was installed, and now let's try to use it. We have prop types. Let's import it. And what do we need? We need to describe properties for our component. Password input, prop types, it's object, and what do we have? We have type. Type, as I mentioned before, it can be text or password. So let's take a look what can we use. We will use one of. And it will be text or additionally, and it's required. Additionally, if you do not know what options you will have, you can clarify it as type, prop type, string. It will be the same, but it allows you to pass different values, but we know what we will receive. The next one, what do we have? We have on show password click. This is a function and it's required as well. Okay, and now let's try to test it how it works. For example, we have type tag, we have a type. Let's try to pass another email, for example. What will we have? And now when we click on button, we see that we have warning that invalid prop type, value email, but we expect text or password. So, and now we know that we put the wrong properties and we need to update it. The next one, let's fix it. Let's go deeper. We have input. In input we have a few types. Let's go. So you can think, why do we need to describe all these properties if we know what we are receiving? All properties are described in as a parameters to this component. But sometimes if we have a lot of these properties, we can write it as in destruction. We will put all these properties to rest, and then we will use them in this case. And now we do not know all properties this component can receive. Let's imagine that you create a library which will be used by another people and other companies, and you don't know who will use it and how they will use it. They need to know some information about your component, what it will receive. And this information, it will be as a documentation. You can provide properties, and people will know what properties they can use, what are required, what types do they need. Don't forget rest. And okay, and what do we have? We have a label, string is required, placeholder, it's string as well, but it's not required, we can miss it. Type, we already know that it should be one of these two cases. Easy with button, it's prop types boolean. It can be just true or false. And we need some fields. Let's create default values. We need for placeholder, it will be empty in our case, and for is with button, false. It's false because we have input and usually we do not have buttons, so false is okay. The next what I want to show you is using default values. So let's imagine that we have another component. Okay, let's imagine that we have component input, and in this component we can pass errors, and these errors can be multiple errors, and it will be array of errors. Okay, we know that we will have errors. Let's go to input, let's get these errors, and in container we can do the next. We can do something like it, and we will provide a list of errors. And right now let's take a look on result, what we will have in our case. What do we have? We have error because we cannot read property map of undefined, and it's okay because of we have errors field. We try to show these errors, but we didn't mark it as an array. And what can we do? First of all, we can do the next one. We can put as default value, so we know that as a function parameter we can describe it with default value, and it will be empty array. Let's take a look. Will it solve the problem? Yes, the problem is solved, but it's not a very good case because of it looks ugly and it's not React way. How can we fix it with React way? We will describe a new parameter. It will be errors, prop types, array. Let's leave it array right now, and if it's not required, we can describe default value. It will be empty array. Let's take a look. Okay, 1 second. My bad, we need to describe default props. Okay, and now let's take a look. And the problem is solved. And let's add one more feature. We know that it's array, but let's do it more precisely. It's array of, and it's array of prop types. String. Yes. Yes. And now we know that we will have array of strings. The next one, what we can clarify, it's go to password. We have this function. This function, it's required function, but sometimes we have not required functions. What the functions they are? Let's imagine that you have some analytics, and you can pass some callback function which will be called and save some analytics if on component something happened. But you can skip this analytics and the component will work fine. So in this case we can describe our function as not required. And password input. Okay, it's undefined, for example, and in our application we pass these properties. Let's imagine that we forgot what we will have. We know that it's assigned but never used, and in case we click, nothing happens. But let's imagine that we will call this function. Let's do it this way. And now when we click, we have error that function is not a function, and it's okay. But we don't want to get this error if we will fail some analytics function. What can we do? We can pass it. We have a few options. The first one is described as an empty function. What will we have? We have no error and the problem is solved. But it looks more or less okay. In case you want to another solution, you can use such features as Lodash noob. If you are using Lodash library, Nope, it's an empty method which returns undefined. It's just empty function. So we can install Lodash. Okay, and let's import it. And we can use noob. It depends on your code style how your team decided to use. Okay, you can use this function. So to recap, what do we have? We have validation of props. To validate the props of a component, we can use PROPTYPES library, and we describe prop types, what we are expecting. It's a type is required or not, and in case it's not required field, we can describe default value. It's a best practices of using React application, and very often they are asked on different interviews. If you are trying to get a job, on technical interview, interviewers can ask you about validating props, what techniques you are using. You can use prop types, TypeScript, or Flow. It depends on your approach and what do you like more. We covered the default values for arrays, how we can solve the problem of calling some method of array if in case we forgot to pass array. Also, we covered functions, how we can put default value of function. We know where to find documentation. It's React.js org. It's advanced section type checking with prop types. So I recommend you take a look on this page and start using this validation approach in your application. So do not forget to subscribe my channel, because of soon there will be much more React lessons. And thank you for watching.